welcome to the Asset Preservation Hour. I'm your host, Randy Major, and joining me today is co-founder of Asset Preservation Tax and Retirement Services, Stewart Willis.
It's a mouthful, isn't it?
It sure is.
Could have came up with a simpler name. I need to simplify it a bit.
But it does explain what you do, which is what we're going to talk about today, Stu.
Well, I think I need to add a couple more words in there.
Stewart, how was your Thanksgiving?
It was unbelievable. I was able to have a great Thanksgiving dinner with family and great friends. We, thank you to Kelly White for making the most amazing turkey ever. So that was unbelievable. But, I'll just tell you this. It was really a time for self-reflection. Mm-hmm. We were, amongst, like I said, great friends, great family. And I know that there's people out there that weren't able to enjoy the same kind of Thanksgiving that we were. And, once again, as a company, we've been, very blessed. I've been personally blessed with, the success of this TV show, the way it's grown our company tremendously over the last few years here. But what we want to do is bring some awareness to the hunger that's out there amongst some of our Arizona residents here. Mm-hmm. And, to try to help, what we're doing is we're offering to match all donations to St. Mary's Food Bank. And what we're going to do is offer up to $20,000 in matching funds to donate to St. Mary's Food Bank to make sure that we can help feed people. Now, for every dollar that they receive, they can actually provide 7 meals. So it's really important. I know you all out there are very blessed as well. And if you want to help us raise a ton of money for the St. Mary's Food Bank, we will absolutely match it. Now, what you have to do is go to our website. And I also have a QR code up here. You click on that QR code, or you go to www.apsitaxes.com. We will match dollar for dollar up to $20,000 to help raise money for the hungry here in Phoenix. And, listen, if we blow by the $20,000, I'll make it $30,000. Let's do what we can to help. But listen,
that's so amazing.
It's an important time.
It is.
We're going into the holidays here. Mm-hmm. Holiday season, I want to help whoever we can.
November is the perfect month for giving thanks and also giving back. So if you're watching at home and you'd love to help Stewart, his company, in their efforts to give back, use the QR code on your screen or call the number. So Stewart, we do want to get into some talk about retirement planning and what you offer at your company. So let's get into it. What is your approach to planning a retirement for somebody?
Well, I just think it's really important, whether you have $100,000 to your name or $10 million to your name, to just make sure you have a plan. And I think it's important to have a complete plan. Oftentimes people, will have their investments, but their investments are separate from their tax person. Their tax person separate from their estate planning lawyer. They have all of these different, people that don't interact with each other and never actually help create a common plan. And I think it's really important to have a cohesive, holistic plan when it comes to financial planning.
Right. I mean, do most people even realize that tax planning is a part of this puzzle?
No, they don't. And I think until we've brought that message to Arizona, a lot of people have kind of in the back of their head known that there were things that made sense, like, Roth conversions or harvesting gains or whatever, but they just didn't know how to apply it. And I think it's really important for people to take action. It's really important. We only have a month or so left here in the year. Mm-hmm. It's super important to take action before the year's up, because we know taxes are going up. And it's a super important time, because remember, if it's once January 1st hit, it's too late.
It's definitely not time to procrastinate.
Absolutely.
Now let's talk a little bit about how retirement has changed over the years. Do you see a lot of pensions still?
Well, yeah. So, we have a couple offices in Michigan, and, here in Phoenix, we have, when I talk about Phoenix, we have an office in Scottsdale, here in Tempe, where we film the show, and over on the West Valley out in the Sun City, Peoria area as well. But we see tons of clients that, have no pensions at all, and some that do. For example, Honeywell. Like Honeywell's a phenomenal company, and they still have pensions for most of their employees. But remember, if you're listening to your friend to tell you, hey, you should take it at age 66 rather than 62, that may or may not make sense. Because whether you were part of Allied Signal or one of the other predecessor companies, your plans may be drastically different. So it's super important to make an informed decision. There's no right or wrong. You just have to make an informed decision. You're all adults out there. Let them make their decisions so long as they're making an informed one.
So how does someone decide when the best time to start retiring is? How do you help them?
Well, I think the first thing you have to do is learn to separate out retirement from filing for Social Security and filing for your pension. Those are all three distant or different choices to make. When you retire is just what we mean by that is when you stop working. That doesn't mean you have to file for Social Security then. It may make sense or it may not. I think it's super important to really look at all of your options. And when it comes to your pension plan, does it make sense to take the lump sum pension or does it make sense to take it out over time? Some pensions are really, really awesome, and it makes no sense at all, to take the lump sum because the payout rate is so high. But for others that are looking to preserve these assets, they may not have longevity in their family and they're looking to preserve it for their, for the next generation or their surviving spouse. It may make sense to take a lump sum. I think everybody's situation is different. It's super important to look at all the factors involved.
Absolutely, and that's why it's so important to have a solid plan and so important to come and meet with you so you can go over it together and really make sound decisions. Now, I know you have a very special offer for the viewers at home today, so the perfect time for them to get the ball rolling. What is the offer you have today?
Well, the offer we're making today to our audience is if you give us a call at 833-652-7829, or if you click on this QR code that we're putting up on the screen right here, what you can do is get a complimentary portfolio review. In that complimentary portfolio review, we'll look at all the risks that you're taking, the fees that you're paying, any deferred taxes in there that we see as an issue. And we'll also, if you bring in your trust, if you have some estate planning done, we'd be glad to have our people take a look at that and see any holes that we see in that as well.
It sounds like a no-brainer, really.
Well, it's if you're annoyed by me on TV, it's probably a bad idea. If you want to hang out with me again. But no, listen, all you have to do is take action, give us a call. We'd be glad to take a look.
Well, if you're watching at home and this is all speaking to you, you might need a second opinion. It's time to stop procrastinating. Come on in, spend an hour with Stewart and his team and let them take a look at what you've got and set you up for retirement with peace of mind. Today's the day. Pick up the phone and give us a call. It's 833-652-7829. We are going to take a very quick commercial break, and we will be right back to talk about what you should be looking for in a financial advisor. Stay tuned.
What happens oftentimes is we'll run into clients or potential clients that have saved all this money, but they're 75, 80 years old. They've got this big pile of money, but they're not enjoying retirement because they're so worried about running out of money that they never actually get to enjoy their life's work. And so to me, it's really rewarding to be able to create a plan so that these people can have a great time in retirement, knowing that they're not going to run out, that they're going to be fine. I think it brings a smile to their face.
We get a lot of different people at a lot of different stages in their lives. And what we're able to do is, for some folks, it's able to tell them that you're on track. Keep doing what you're doing, and 15 years from now, you'll be retired and enjoying life the way you want it to be. For some people, it's people coming in and they're 3 to 5 years away from retirement, and you're able to tell them that, 5 years, 3 years, tomorrow, you're ready to go.
We are a complete shop. We handle estate planning, taxes, financial planning. We do a really in-depth cash flow analysis that is way more detailed than you'll see in the market.
Everything all in one spot, with the left hand always knowing what the right hand's doing. Because it's not just about the investments, but how's that going to affect your taxes? It's not where are you going to be 5 years from now, 15 years from now. And it's that back and forth full view of what the clients, not only today, but tomorrow and their legacy down the road is going to be, that really sets us apart.
Welcome back to the Asset Preservation Hour. I am your host, Randy Major, and I am with Stewart Willis today, who is co-founder of Asset Preservation Tax and Retirement Services. So, Stewart, today we're talking about the importance of having a proper retirement plan. Now, what should the folks at home be looking for when they are looking for a financial advisor?
Well, first of all, I think it's really important to make sure you find somebody that you like, okay? Because these are long-term relationships. You need to make sure you get along with them, because if you can't stand the person you're with, well, then you're going to look for every excuse not to have a conversation. And we have tons of people out there that are saying, oh my gosh, this guy, my dad gave him to me, or, my ex-husband was using this person. But listen, a lot of people just don't make changes, right? So first of all, you got to get along. The most important next thing is that they're a fiduciary, that you're dealing with a fiduciary. The other thing is that they're an independent advisor. By independent, what we mean is that they're not beholden to one company. And at Asset Preservation, we are truly independent. We have multiple custodians, whether your money's at TD Ameritrade and Charles Schwab or at Fidelity Institutional. We can manage accounts at both of those custodians there. The other thing is to make sure you're dealing with a holistic financial planner, right? Most advisors, all they do is take a look at the money. Why? Because that's how they make their money. But I think it's really, really important to make sure that not only do they look at your investments, they can look at your taxes, give you a real tax assessment, that they look at your estate planning. Do they have the expertise, the attorneys in-house that can actually look at their estate planning and trusts? Are they licensed to look at your insurance policies as well? What's going on with your insurance, as well as any of the other things that could be hiding in there, like income planning as well. Like I said, most advisors, all they talk about is your money, because that's how they make money.
Wow, so much to know, such good information. Thank you. Now, you mentioned being a fiduciary. If someone at home is watching and has no idea what that is, can you explain it to them?
Absolutely. Well, what a fiduciary is the fiduciary standard means that they are putting your interests above their own. So typically what you see in the big box shops are brokers, and they have a broker-dealer relationship, which means that oftentimes you'll see that the mutual funds that they invest you in pay your advisor, or they don't have the same standard. Now listen, they have to do what they believe is in your best interest. They can't do you any intentional harm, but it doesn't necessarily add that fiduciary standard. Super crucial to make sure you're dealing with a true fiduciary.
Wow. And so why also is it so important to have a holistic planner like you mentioned?
Well, the holistic plan is so important. During this pandemic, we've had, several clients pass away. And oftentimes, these clients, when they lose a loved one, they have no idea where to go, right? Well, at our firm, what we commit to our clients is that we'll be there for them if something was to happen to their surviving spouse, or to their other spouse. We'll be there for the children if something happens. And what it takes to understand how to do that is a background in taxes, estate planning, financial planning, retirement, all of those things I listed before. Having a holistic financial plan is super crucial to a successful retirement.
Thank you, Stewart. Now, we are getting a lot of phone calls right now, and somebody actually called in with a question regarding taxes. Would you want to answer a viewer question for me?
Oh, here we go. Let's do it.
All right, we have Susan in Scottsdale. Her question is, within an IRA, is there a tax advantage to withdrawing from a bond fund versus a stock fund? What do you recommend in minimizing taxes when withdrawing from a tax-deferred account like an IRA or a 401k?
Yeah, so it absolutely makes no tax difference where you pull it from. Now, it may make a tactical or strategic difference on where you should pull it from, and I think it's really important to know where to pull it from. But that's one of the problems with IRAs, once again, is you've created these big tax time bombs, and now you have to make those tax decisions. But I can tell you absolutely, doesn't matter which one you sell, well, the tax implication is the same. We see a lot of clients that will have, for example, tax-free municipal bonds inside their IRA. But remember, it doesn't matter what the underlying investment is. You're still going to pay tax on that withdrawal. So you buying a tax-free fund inside a tax-deferred account is absolutely nonsensical. You want to make sure that you're strategically placed.
Thank you, Stewart.
Yeah.
Thank you for writing in, Susan. And I was just curious, how important is it to start tax planning well before tax season?
Yeah, I think, if you're doing your planning in tax season, it's too late because the year from last year's already gone, right? We have a tax office, and I can tell you definitively, if you're looking to do tax planning during the tax season, it's a tremendous mistake. These are people that are, God bless them, they're working, 10, 15-hour days to prepare your taxes. But listen, they're just trying to get through the preparation of taxes. Not only are they exhausted from doing that kind of work and not really at their full capacity mentally to do any real planning, it's also too late. Right now is the time, at the end of the year. And the reason we say that is that at the end of the year, we still have the ability to change what's happening for this year. Does it make sense to convert to Roth? Does it make sense to harvest gains? It's really important to take a look, and I think you should make sure that no matter what you're doing, no matter whether you're dealing with us or another tax advisor, financial advisor, take advantage of where we are today.
Yeah, absolutely. We're nearing the end of the year here. There's no time to procrastinate. And that leads me to your amazing offer you have today. Now, there was a lot of people watching saying, oh boy, I need to get on my A game here. I better call this number. What are you offering the folks at home today?
So what we're offering is a complimentary portfolio review. And in that complimentary portfolio review, what we'll look at is all of the fees that you're paying, all the risks that you're taking, any tax issues that we're concerned about. We just talked about taxes. We can let you know if we see any tax issues hiding in there. All you have to do is take action today. Give us a call at 833-652-7829, or you can click on the QR code that's appearing on your screen. We'd be glad to help. You can also go to www.apsitaxes.com. That's our website.
We are going to take a quick commercial break, but we have so much more. Back with Stewart when we come back. The number is on your screen, and now is the time to call. It's 833-652-7829. Please stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
This is the story of how you get from here to there. Right now, you're here, but in the future, you want to be there. And from here, there looks pretty good. But so few get to there. Why? Well, of those who do make it, some will have luck, but most will have a strategy. They will save and invest, grow and protect, and they will work with advisors who will help guide their way. If you're looking to get somewhere, to get there, we know how to set a course. It's what we do, and we do it well. We're investment specialists, retirement advisors, insurance experts, and financial planners. We have innovative wealth tracking tools to monitor your progress every step of the way. Wherever you are now, we can help you get to where you want to be. The road between here to there is shorter for those who know the way.
Welcome back to the Asset Preservation Hour. I'm your host, Randy Major, and talking here with Stewart Willis. And Stewart, we're discussing so many important things, and I know the viewers are so appreciative. And right now, I want to talk about something that we're all seeing and we're all feeling, the current state of the economy.
Yeah, we're in crazy times right now. I mean, obviously, I think that the one word that I hear more than anything right now is inflation, right? Inflation is at crazy all times, 30-year highs right now. I think the latest number is 6.2%. That's just absolutely nuts. And what that means, that is just an additional tax that we're paying. That means your money's becoming less valuable. So what a dollar would buy yesterday is less today. So if you have to buy a gallon of milk for $12 a gallon, your same dollar isn't going as far, is it? So you need to make sure you have a plan there. But remember, oftentimes people will be just completely delusioned by the fact that we are at all-time highs in the market. And I have a slide here that'll show you the S&P 500. And in this slide, the market is at a tremendous run, right? We're plus or minus 1% from the highest point in market history. And most people believe we're closer to the end of this market than we are to the beginning. And I actually, of course, buy into that as well. Listen, I don't know when it's going to turn, Randy, but I know it's turning and it's coming, and you need to make sure you're prepared for it. So historically, what people have done is they've just shifted to bonds as they get closer to retirement, or if they get closer to, if they start getting closer to an end of a bull market. But remember, we are also not only in the high inflation territory, high stock market, we're in the lowest interest rate environment in history right now, plus or minus a point, right? So I'm going to pull up the 10-year Treasury slide here. And this 10-year Treasury slide here will show you where the 10-year Treasury has been. Now, if you look on the left here, you see that super high mountain there? Well, that's in the 80s, when everyone can remember those super high interest rates. And for 35 years, those interest rates have dropped. And if you take a look on the far right, you see a dip, it looks like a U there, followed by a spike and then kind of another dropping. Well, that interest rate, when it went from 0.47% at its lowest on the 10-year Treasury to 1.5% plus here, that's a tripling of the interest rate. Now, what does that mean for you as a bondholder? Well, just think about it. If you own an individual bond and your bond is paying 10% this year, and next year interest rates, drop to 5%. Well, what's going to happen to the value of your bond? Well, this is what we call a time value of money calculation. I won't get too into, but as interest rates fall, bond values go up. Now, what happens when interest rates rise? When interest rates rise, bond values drop. Because who's going to want to buy your 1.5% bond that they're paying today when they could buy a 3% bond next year? Right? So they'll pay you, but they're not going to pay you what you paid for it. You're going to have to, sell it at a discount. And that's where we start seeing bond losses. So historically, where people ran to bonds for safety, that could be a real problem if you have liquidity needs, if you actually need to access that money. So bonds really aren't as safe as they once were. And does it really make sense to risk your principal for such a low interest rate environment? I would question that.
It's a lot. It's a lot. And with the economy being where it is and the market being at the all-time highs, I mean, when your clients are coming in, what exactly are you hearing them say about all this?
Yeah, I think people know that the end is near. I think we are in this perfect storm of high stock market, high inflation, low interest rates. And listen, if anybody questions whether or not the Federal Reserve is a political branch of the administration that's in the White House, all of those guesses are gone now. We know, listen, they bent to what Trump said. They're doing it with Biden. Interest rates should be rising based on these inflationary numbers. We're creating this massive bubble. And how many people out there look back at 2009, 2008 and say, look, if I just would have sold, if I would have gotten out of it, right? Now, remember, what do these rising interest rates also affect? Not just the stock market. Yes, we know that's going to affect the stock market, but what about the real estate market as well, right? I have tons of clients, Randy, that are coming in that are saying, hey, I think, I need to get rid of this property because it's worth so much, right? People are offering crazy dollars for these properties, right? Does it make sense to sell now or not? Maybe, maybe not. It's funny because when you talk to a real estate agent, of course they're trying to sell you a property. Well, then, first they tell you to buy, then they tell you to sell. They're trying to create all these transactions. Obviously, we don't have fiduciary real estate agents. It doesn't really work that way, right? You can't, no one's going to pay a lifetime, management fee on their house to somebody. But I think it's really important that you have an advisor, when it comes to real estate as well. And we'd be glad to help you to take a look at all that stuff to see if it makes sense. Are you at an all-time high? Is your depreciation schedule run out? Does it make sense to continue to be a landlord in this environment? Maybe, maybe not. Everybody's situation is different.
So if the inevitable is coming, what strategies do you have against a downturn, to protect against a downturn?
Well, I think first and foremost, diversification. You need to make sure all your eggs aren't in one basket. We have tons of clients that are, property rich and cash poor, that have all of these properties generating tons of wealth and tons of income, and that's great. Listen, I think real estate is about as efficient a way of generating true wealth, because that depreciation basically offsets any rental income you're getting in most cases. And so you oftentimes are taking a loss from that depreciation schedule. That's awesome. It's beautiful. I love it. But sometimes, like Kenny Rogers used to say, you got to know when to hold them and know when to fold them. That doesn't just apply to poker, right? That also applies to the stock market, to the real estate market, et cetera. And I think it's really important to get a second opinion. And I'll just tell you this, you can't get a second opinion from the guy who gave you the first one, right? I take that from a good friend of mine named Brian Krawante. He's a financial advisor out in Pittsburgh, but he's got some of those good nuggets I take all the time.
He does have some good ones. Yeah, so important just to know your options and to be working with someone who understands your goals, respects what you want out of your retirement, and so you actually know and have peace of mind when that time comes that you're ready to enjoy it.
Yeah, and I think a lot of times that word you said, options, is everything. People need to know what choices they have available to them, because oftentimes they're just told by what their friends say. And now listen, a lot of people don't realize that when they turn 59 and a half, that oftentimes they have an option to roll out their 401k from an IRA and actually inevitably convert it to Roth, right? A lot of people are so afraid. They manage these 401ks and they've done a great job for the last decade. But once again, remember that chart I showed you? The market has multiplied 600% from the bottom of 2009. Sometimes you got to know when to hold them and know when to fold them. And what I'm just telling you is give us a call at 833-652-7829. We'll do that complimentary portfolio analysis. We'll take a look at what kind of risks you have, what kind of options you have. If you need help with your 401k or your IRA, all you have to do is give us a call. We'd be glad to help.
Folks, you've worked very hard your whole lives. Now it's time to relax and enjoy your retirement. Stewart and his team are here to help you make sure you have the perfect retirement plan. We talked all about how important tax strategies are for you today. Stewart and his team can do that for you. Stewart, we have 30 seconds. Anything left you want to tell the viewers?
Yeah, no, once again, I'm super grateful for you all, for all of the audience, for all the people that helped us get to where we are. Thank you so much. And please click on that link at www.apsitaxes.com and give to the St. Mary's Food Bank. We'll match it up to 20,000 or we'll make it 30.
Thank you all for joining us. I'm Randy Major. Thank you, Stewart, for the wonderful show. We'll see you next week.